was so intrigued by your profile when I first read about you, Nikki, because the story that you tell in the sense that from my understanding, you wrote initially a song that turned into a screenplay that turned into a book, Loved You, Hated You.
Yes.
And it is so intriguing to me personally because I know my own I'm still kind of processing my own story of completely losing myself to a relationship and not really understanding until retrospect how damaging it was, but also having to acknowledge just how did I even get here? Because you don't even know until it's gone or
Right.
until it's done how it
Right.
came to be. So, Nikki, would you please introduce yourself to my audience and kind of, yeah, tell your story to begin talking about how that book came to be?
Yeah, so I'm Nikki Allen. I'm actually a singer-songwriter turned author, if you will. Um, and so I was many years ago in this abusive relationship that, like you said, you don't even realize you're being abused sometimes because they can be so subtle. Abuse doesn't always come in with beating you up and yelling and screaming. And that's not how that started, So after, after so many, I guess I was complaining to a girlfriend of mine every day at work. Like, he did this, he did, and she'd give me this wonderful advice. I probably didn't take it and come back the next day with the same BS. And so finally she said to me, you know, I don't want to hear this anymore. You're not going to leave. When you're ready to leave, then we can have this conversation. And that for me was the eye opener. Like, my good friend who I tell everything to no longer wants to hear this story. So what's up? And that was really when I kind of took that dive into how the hell did I get in this? Because, sometimes we mimic what our past was. But for me, my parents never argued. They were married until my mom passed away. There was never any arguing, anything that I saw as a kid growing up, right? So how did I get here? And so it took seriously about 7 years to actually walk out of that relationship,
Mm.
right? And so somewhere in that time, I was working on my first album and I wrote Loved You, Hated You. The lyrics are I loved you, I hated you. And the part that you said when you started talking to me is now I'm finally releasing you. But that release part is the part. But like what you said, which is so amazing that you said this because I just realized this is me as well. You, your heart, I didn't realize I wasn't giving myself fully into my new relationship. It's not new
Mm.
now, it's going on 7 years. But I was like, I can walk away if I want to. I can leave. You can go. It's that wall, that
Mm.
protective layer. And I didn't even realize that I had put that up until I would say maybe the last month. I figured that out. Maybe a little longer, but I finally said, this guy is my final answer. And
Mm.
that meant that I'm going to jump into this, but I'm going to jump into this head on and let's see where it goes. But when I tell you it's scary, I'm vulnerable again, I'm open again, and those are the things we don't want to be because that means we've given this person access to our actual heart, right?
Yeah.
So it's a long journey. It's so amazing how that relationship 30 plus years ago has it defined me in all my relationships after
Mm.
that. I
Mm.
never, because I was like, I'm not getting hurt again like that. Like, and you will not abuse me. You will not talk down to me,
Mm.
so you put this wall around. And so now here I have the guy. And since I've done this book, it's so crazy because all these emotions that I thought I had healed, I thought I was past doing these podcast interviews, questions bring up emotions. And it's like, ooh, I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
So this book has kind of opened that wound up again, but it seems like this is a good salve to kind of heal it and move forward. But it's been it's been a journey. But that part about releasing fully, ooh,
Yeah.
7 years, to be 7 years in this relationship to finally go, okay, I think I'm safe here.
Wow.
I
Yeah. I
get
mean,
I can do it. I can do it. And I'm telling you, I'm terrified. I'm not even gonna sit here and lie. Like, I am so terrified. I am so open and vulnerable. Like, ugh, but
Yeah.
I think he's worth it. I trust him with everything, so I'm in.
I love that you're saying it, but you're saying it through so much fear. And I admire that because I can completely relate. I have kind of come to find that it's very easy to do all the right things and to feel strong and empowered when you're in no position to get challenged. And
Hmm.
you're only going to be challenged on whether or not you've actually overcome stuff when you are in a new situation where you can
Yeah.
get triggered. For instance, like
Yes.
I'm dating someone now and well, I mean, we're officially a couple at this point, but there was a time when I felt so strong and so empowered. I'm like, I know I'm that girl. I can do all of these things. I have all of this wisdom and I've done all of this healing and I've got it all figured out or whatnot.
Exactly.
And then I'm in positions where I have to utilize what I know. It's not just about having knowledge and wisdom to know how to go through things, because one thing is knowledge, another thing is emotions that are tied to these knowledges, because we can be in situations when we are in a relationship where now we're triggered in real time. And now you're
Yeah.
supposed to take all of what you know in a triggered state of mind with loaded emotions and be rational.
Right. Not happening. Look, when you put it like that, not
I had
happening.
this conversation with him kind of coincidentally yesterday when he was telling me straight up, but at what point can you no longer bring up your past trauma as like as an excuse for you and I arguing? Like at what
Oh,
point does that stop being true? Because he didn't give me like a timeline, but he was like, imagine setting a timeline for yourself where it's like at this point I have to put that in the past and it's no longer going to be the reason why you and I are arguing. And I was so blown away by that in a sense that first I was kind of like, "Ooh, who is this self-respective man?" Like he has self-respect. He knows what he wants. He is also not going to take
that should have
bullshit.
turned you on though.
Yeah,
Like,
I
oh,
mean, it definitely took me on. It took me into this headspace where I realized that, oh, he will not take my bullshit. He will not be manipulated by it. Not that that's my intention, but essentially,
right.
when you're placing your reasons for whatever it is that is going on onto a different person or a different event, then
Hmm.
you're also no longer taking accountability for it.
Correct. Correct.
And I love that now I have this man in my life who is actually holding me accountable.
I
So
love
that,
that.
yes, I do love
That
that
means
too.
you've grown too, you know what I mean? Because you could still, I don't know if you ever were, but you could be in a position where it's like, I don't know what's wrong with this guy. Like, I'm trying to tell him that this is why I'm acting like this. And he just keeps going, like, yeah, he's not going to keep hearing, but he doesn't understand how, you could have
Yes.
totally been in that headspace. But so kudos to you for growing.
Yes, I mean, thank you. And it's very interesting because I've had a similar relationship as to the one that you're describing where there was it was the relationship who taught you the most, but also kind of damaged you the most in the sense that that's where you felt as though you lost yourself. I will never forget that moment when I sat and I sat by this lake and I was thinking to myself, I know I am deeply unhappy. I am never going to have my needs met in this relationship, but I cannot for the life of me end this. I don't know how to do it. I really don't know how to do it. And in that
Yeah,
moment I thought to myself, I might as well just end it, right? And I
right.
think there's so many people who have been in similar situations and not really understanding even like, how did I get here? And where is my agency? Like, why can't I leave?
Yes, yes.
And I wonder if you have a similar story as to at what point did you realize that, like, no, I will not put up with this anymore. But first and foremost, I want what I want. And this person isn't going to give it to me, but I am going to be brave and I'm going to go for it anyways. Do you
Yeah.
remember that moment for you?
Honestly, and it's it's an unfortunate unfolding for me. We had, I think, three or four physical altercations in our 7-year relationship. Um, I believe it was that last altercation that we had where we put each other in the hospital because I'm not the girl to get beat. I'm the girl that will fight you back. So we put each other in the hospital, but it was him. He is the one that said, we cannot keep doing this. And and I already knew that, but it sounded so different coming from him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, "Oh, you know what? We can't." And we didn't, after that incident, we weren't together for years after that. But I will say this, we kept coming back to each other.
Mm,
I'd say as recently as my son is 18, so 18 years ago, we still
mm. Yeah.
we're trying to, and I had a son and was going through a divorce. He was going through a divorce. Like we had lived lives and we still kept trying to bring this thing together. If I'm
Mm,
honest, it wasn't until maybe after I got in this relationship that I'm like, why is this guy still around? Like we can
mm.
say we're friends and all of that, and we are to an extent,
Right.
but really, why am I allowing you still in my life? And so, to your point, what you were saying a few minutes ago, my new guy, he's a coach and he was coaching some kids. He called me. So everything was frantic in the background, just loud. You could hear yelling, screaming, excitement. So he had that energy, you know?
Mhm.
And so he asked me to order something for him on Amazon, but his tone was like, like that.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay, order it and order it now. And that was a trigger I didn't even know was still there. And I
Mm.
remember my brain kind of, it felt like it was like, where are you? It was crossing, like,
Yeah.
which guy is this? And then it was like, no, not this guy, not this guy, because
Right.
I'm vulnerable. I'm open now. I said it's you. And now you're gonna do like all these things started coming in my head, like, oh no, I just said it was him. I just got vulnerable and he's talking to me like that guy. And
Yes.
so but I got really quiet when he said that. And so he goes, please, what happened?
I love that he did that though. I mean, at least he came to the acknowledgement that like, oh, that was harsh.
Yeah, yeah, he goes, please. So he came over. He goes, so now I have a total attitude, right? I'm mad. Like you said, I'm bringing that past into this relationship. I'm mad you talked to me like this, even though we hadn't had that conversation because we ended it with a please and I hung up the phone and ordered it. But when he got here, he was like, what is wrong with you? Like you have the attitude. And the tears just came.
Hmm.
And I could not believe that that old ass relationship popped up
Mm,
at this moment with this guy. And I just started crying. I was like, you said it. And he was so sweet. He just grabbed me. He
mm.
said, I'm sorry. You know, I would never talk to you like that, blah, 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 blah. He was just, because I turned into a whole big old baby.
Honestly, I do wonder if that's helpful because what I've found in this relationship too, in my sense, is that like before I was kind of, well, because the other relationship kind of taught me over time that it was unsafe to bring up things that I wanted to talk about because it would come with like the eye roll and here we go again. So I wouldn't be able to actually express how I felt. But in this relationship, it's the first time I do believe that I'm showing up and I'm saying what I need and I'm saying
Yes.
why I need it or not even necessarily having to justify it. But what I'm recognizing is when I'm showing up authentically and real and vulnerable, they understand that, like, hey, this is just a human being trying to express
Yes.
themselves. It's
Yes.
not an attack to you. And what was so visible to you in this situation is that when you break down, you realize that, like, okay, that triggered something in you that actually have nothing to do with him. But at the same time, he is still holding himself accountable to recognize that like okay, I'm not going to talk to you like this, but I will hold you and I will let you know that you're safe. And I think
Mhm.
that's beautiful. I mean, that
Yeah.
is
No, I probably felt more in love at that point because if you could have seen the look on his face, it was the look of, oh my God, I hurt her. And
yeah,
I had never had anyone look at me like they cared about my little feelings, right? And so when I
yeah,
was telling him this with these tears rolling down my face, his whole demeanor was just, it got so soft and so like, oh my God,
yeah,
I would never talk to you like that. I mean, you could just see it all over his face. So
yeah,
that was, man, that was a moment, but I was like, okay, I still got some healing to do. There's still stuff there. It just comes up. You don't know. And I'm thankful for it because ironically, probably a day or two later, the old boyfriend who I don't talk to, like it's been years. We don't have conversations and like, hey, what's up? None of that. It's a check-in every year or two,
hmm,
right? all of a sudden he's starting to text and I'm like, why is this guy surfacing? And I was like, he must have got the memo from the heavens that I have committed myself to this guy that I'm giving because all of a sudden this like, hey, and this was the last text probably a week ago. He goes,
Mm,
"Hey, pretty lady." He hasn't
mm.
said anything like that to me in 30 years.
Wow.
Where's the "hey, pretty lady" coming from? And I'm like, you know what? I gotta, this is done.
Yeah, yeah,
This is done. Like, I don't even want you in my world at this point because it's pointless. Like, it's so pointless.
yeah.
But thank you for a good book, sir.
Yeah, my whole podcast and the book that I'm writing is also deeply rooted in that relationship. And somehow I do believe it's going to be my career. So yeah, I'm grateful at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
yeah, yeah.
Because it surfaces so many things. And I believe this is probably true for you too, but I want to dive deeper into it if you don't mind, because I know that in my own life right now, a lot of the things that are these quote unquote excuses or explanation as to why I developed these patterns has a lot to do with my upbringing and what I observed.
Oh,
So I do
yes.
wonder, Nikki, can you tell me, first of all, like, where did you grow up and what was the family dynamic like? Did you have siblings? Were your parents married? You know where I'm going with this.
Yes. So I grew up, I'm from Chicago, Illinois. My parents have a very interesting background. My mom was a professional model.
Hmm.
And so I grew up with an au pair, very, I had to go to etiquette classes. I trained for the Olympics. I'm this, accomplished musician. My mother and father made sure that I had all those things. The thing they forgot to give me was love.
Yeah, I was gonna say, where was the comfort and the love
There
and
was none
the,
of that. There
yeah.
was none of that. So fast forward to this relationship, I was wondering how did I get here? And so initially, and this is a true part of it, but only a portion of it. Initially, when I started thinking back, how did I get here? It was like, okay, my mom had just passed away
Mm,
and I had just moved to LA, which is where I am now, is where I met this guy. And I didn't have a support system. I didn't have really a lot of friends. I had that one friend and she was a work friend. But I was really out here by myself. And so I had never experienced a relationship like this. I didn't know how to navigate it. So ironically, when I called my dad thinking, hey, this guy hit me, my dad's flying out to LA tomorrow and he's gonna beat this guy up, right?
mhm.
I tell my dad that this guy hit me, and my dad goes, well, that's what you guys do. Hmm? That's literally what he said. So where was the support? So, and in that, he kind of enabled me to continue in this relationship. Like, well, if my daddy says,
Oh,
this is what
wow.
we do, we kind of keep going. When I look back at it now, and when I really do what I call soul surgery, it stemmed from me holding on to this guy because at the end of the day, he was more safe than my dad. I got more affection from him than my dad. Like
Mm,
all those things that my dad didn't do, I did get that from him. So those were the parts of him that I was holding on to.
mm,
When he was good, this guy, he was great. I came home, we didn't live together, but one day I came home and he had rose petals from the front door to the bedroom. I opened up the bedroom door, it's flowers, balloons, and he would do these things. So we hold on to that because we
yeah,
see that this person has that in them, but we get confused like that, but that's not who they are all day, every day,
yeah.
It goes back to a lot of childhood trauma,
Mhm.
and unhealed childhood trauma, so that's where, like I said, I did a lot of soul surgery to figure out why. And that is really the some of what I wanted to put in the book is the why we stay. Because
Yeah.
people go, why didn't you just leave? I mean, it was so bad. You knew it was bad and you had all these opportunities. And for some women that are actually in really bad physical, violent relationships, they cannot just walk out of the door.
Mm,
So part of the book, chapter 10, if to be honest, and it's on the website, really talks about the why we don't leave, why we can't leave at that moment.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, did you ever see your parents be affectionate with one another? No. Did
Never.
never. No. Did
They
you?
weren't anything. They just moved, Let's
Yeah.
go grocery shopping. Let's go to here. Let's go to the rest. But it was never honey, baby, love. And there was none of that.
Yeah.
And they offer it to us kids either. So,
Right.
yeah.
Were they, because you said that your dad reacted with a response of like, well, that's what you do when you experience violence in your relationship. Did you ever see that in your parents' relationship?
No, but my dad was married before my mom.
Mm,
And what I do know is that they used to actually physically fight.
mm,
So, my mom, she just wasn't putting up with anything like that. So
right.
they never had that. But in his mind, I guess that's what you guys do. Because he got married to his first wife. I think he was 17 or 18 years old.
Mm,
I was at that time 20, 21 years old.
mm,
So I'm going to give him a gift and say perhaps he was thinking because we're young, that's what we do, even though that's still the wrong advice.
clearly.
But, you know, but yeah, I think that he was like, that's what young people do, I guess,
Mhm,
essentially. Um, but yeah, no, not nobody was arguing. There was no I've never heard my parents raise their voices at each other ever.
mm,
Like
mhm,
it was, our house was just really calm and quiet, just
mm,
unloving,
mm.
not
Yeah.
hateful, just unloving.
I relate to that. I didn't see any of that growing up either. The love and affection. Kind of on the contrary. I remember one day my dad made an attempt to like buy my mom like something for Valentine's Day or whatever. She looks at him like he's crazy, like because he's probably never done it before, and I'm positive he's never done it later. And it was probably something because I had said that like it's Valentine's Day coming up, you have to do something, and then he did, but she was just kind of like, we don't do that. So, and then I saw that, and I remember being so devastated on in that moment his behalf because I thought that well, he's at least trying. And I also
Right.
wanted to, I really, really, I've always, like, when I think about Valentine's Day, I think about celebrating the love that you have and cherishing it for all of the beautiful things that it's doing in your life. And I
Right.
understand that many wants to call this like this corporate holiday or whatnot, but I recognize that if anything, it can also be this reminder that we really need to visualize love in the home. And I want to share a story with you because it's kind of happening in real time in my life right now because I decided to move home to my home country. I've been living in the US for the last 7 years, but I decided to move back to Norway and spend time with my family because my older brother and his wife was also going to move in with my parents for a limited period of time. And I thought this is a great opportunity for all of us to be living together. And my brother is in a very healthy relationship, a beautiful relationship with my sister-in-law, Sarah. And what they're demonstrating in our everyday life now that we're all working from home together, and I can see all the love and the care they have for each other. They are kissing and hugging and being very affectionate. And I can tell that when I see all of that, it creates like this loving feeling in me. I see
Mm,
what it does to me. And
yes.
up and what I'm trying to get with is there was this day where I noticed that they had an argument, and in that moment, I thought to myself, although I know that this has nothing to do with me, I'm in the room as it's happening, and that's uncomfortable for everyone. So, like, there's nothing, but there was nothing dramatic about it. But what I learned in that moment was that I saw what led up to the argument. I saw the argument happening, and then I saw them resolve the issue. And I was like, wow, that taught me that when I have children on my own, because we can't be perfect like,
Right.
100% of the time, one
Right.
could argue that we should be having these conversations behind closed doors where our children can't see it. But I'm starting to wonder if no, maybe it's healthier for them to see arguments happening because that will happen, but also see it be resolved. So the couple that I needed in my life growing up in my parents to visualize what love is, I now get to experience in my brother and my sister-in-law. And I'm really grateful for that. And I
Yeah.
can now that I'm almost 30 and I'm realizing all of this now, but it's so impactful in a really beautiful way. Um, and I wonder, have you done similar reflections yourself? You said that you had a son that's 18 now, did you say?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How would you say that you're demonstrating love now that you know what it did to you when it wasn't present?
And I'm gonna answer your question, but I'm gonna ask you one first
Okay, yeah.
because it'll tie into what you just asked me. But you and your brother grew up in that non-loving family.
hmm
How do you think he became such an amazing husband?
It's such a good question. I love that question. And I've thought about it a lot too, because the thing is, and I guess it's just a theory still, because who's to say that it's true?
Hmm.
But what we did experience was a very physically, emotionally present mother. My mom has been jam-packed with love to give and share to us. And I was kind of the girl who was always at my mom's skirt, kind of observing
Hmm.
everything that she did, meaning that I got really good at like taking care of the home in that sense. Like that wasn't an issue for me. My
Hmm.
brother shared with me that when he moved out of the house for the first time in his life, he didn't know how to do anything because he was never taught to do anything. And he's kind of built a lot of resentment in the sense that for him, it was really tough to kind of acknowledge that he didn't have a dad that taught him how to do a lot of things, but
Amen.
also,
Right. Hmm.
yeah, but also because of it's only recently we're talking more about equality and the gender roles. But when we grew up really young, it was still more like you had your roles and the other roles. And I
Right.
would go on trips with my mom in the summer, and then they would go on a camping trip with my dad or whatever. So we would be kind of segregated when it came to specific things when you kind of thought in your silent mind that traditionally we were supposed to be separated. However, what my theory is about my brother is that he observed and loved his mother. He had so much respect for his mother. That's kind of been a throughput in our all in our entire life, that she's the glue that held it all together. So
Hmm.
my brother had a very healthy view on my
There you
mom,
go.
and he
Got
was
it.
therefore able to transfer that in his wife, in a sense that like, I'm going to take care of you, I'm going to cherish you, and I love you.
Mhm.
But he has also told me that like, but they have been fighting a lot. But it all comes back to, how do you solve the problem and not let
Right.
it fester and become the
Yeah.
ending essentially. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, you know, because I have a daughter too, she's 25. And I remember when I had her, my father literally said to me, "It's so strange. You hug and kiss her all the time. You never did that to us." And I'm thinking, no, you were supposed to demonstrate that to me. So for me, I think I gave my kids what I wanted
Yeah.
and treated them the way I wanted. It has in some ways backfired
How
because
come?
they are so spoiled.
Yeah, right. There's that heavy
You know,
balance. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm whispering because if anybody hears that I'm calling them spoiled, they'll have a whole conniption right now. But they're so spoiled, like, I'm always giving and I never got a yes if I asked for something. It's so weird because as much money as we had and the way we moved, I never got anything that I ever asked for.
Mm,
So when they ask me for things, I'm always like, yes, because I want them to understand, yes, because what I'm having to fix in my life presently is how to receive.
mm,
Because I was never given anything. Like, if you say, yes, Nikki, you can have it, I'm going to find a way to sabotage it because I don't know how to keep. I'm much better now, but
right.
that has been, an issue. So for me, it was just giving my kids what I knew I lacked and what I wanted, but I did it in overdrive. So don't do that.
Right. I mean, it's so interesting that you're saying that, because I think it's almost, if we're not conscious about it, it's just happening, in the sense that you thought to yourself, well, I didn't have that, so I'm going to give this to you. But
Hmm.
then not necessarily being able to see the balance, because as you said, they're so spoiled. And the problem with giving, 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 which is also what my mother did, she just solved everything. She just did everything. And therefore my siblings didn't necessarily learn how to hold and do all of these things themselves. And that has been somewhat true for myself as well. But what my mom experienced, for instance, when she was growing up, was like they were always moving, and then her parents got divorced, and it was the ugliest divorce. So ugly. Oh my gosh. 30 years later, it's still a problem. and, and the point
Believe
being
it.
is that what she then wanted was like 100% stability. We're never moving, and we're never getting a divorce. Like, no matter what, like, we're staying put. And like, and we're always operating in the sense of like, well, I know what hurt me, when I grew up. So I'm going to make sure that you're not hurting because of the same reason.
Hmm.
But in the
Hmm.
process of like doing the right thing in one area, we're failing to understand how that too can then become harmful if we
Hmm.
don't reflect on,
Balance it out.
yeah, we
Hmm.
need to balance it out. And that
Hmm.
only comes from a place where you have reflected,
Yes.
analyzed, and understood where it's even coming from.
Yeah.
And that is the hard part. That's the hard part
Yeah.
for all of us. Yeah.
Yeah, I am proud of my children though. My daughter is 25. She's a case manager and she has her own apartment. She's actually upgraded. She went from a studio apartment to a one bedroom. She has a dog, a cat. She got a new car. So I'm so proud of her. I did something right. I literally go sometimes, did I raise her? Because she's so amazing, but she's so spoiled. Like she's 25, but she'll still throw a tantrum, if she doesn't get her way or so I hear those things still creeping up
Mm,
that I was just so giving that when she was showing that behavior as a child, instead of me correcting it, it just kind of, well, so now it's coming back and but she's amazing. She sees her flaws and I love it because she's like, I'm going to therapy. So she has taken herself to therapy. Like she just wants to be the best human being she can be. But I've always talked to my kids too. Like they tell me things I probably don't want to know but should know, but it's good that they tell me
yeah.
because that's the one thing my mother did. We kept the communication lines open, but I just kind of do it more with love. So my son, he's an amazing kid. He really, really is. He's got this big heart. He takes no mess from no one, which, you know. So I think somewhere in there I did good, but when I tell you they're really spoiled and they will have a tantrum on you and you'll be like, wait, really? But it's mama's fault, but there's no manual, there's no handbook
Right. I mean,
for
that's the
being a
thing.
parent.
Yeah, I mean, or I guess maybe today there is, but at the same time, like, yeah, we're also only ever gonna receive information from a perspective in which we're able to understand it. If
Right,
we
because
don't
everybody's
understand it,
situation is different. So
yeah,
that handbook could only work for maybe a third of people. What about the other? You know what I mean? Because I'm a single mom. I raised my kids together the same way, and they are so polar opposites. But it's so funny because one is like one half of me and the other is the other half of me. So
that's interesting. But so when you say they're so spoiled, I guess I wonder because you were kind of explaining all of these, I guess, tangible things that your daughter has accomplished, but is that things that she has accomplished on her own, or are those things that are given to her by you? I'm just asking because you said that she's
yeah.
so spoiled.
No, those are things she's so independent, but she came out like that. She's accomplished those things on her own.
Yeah,
I've helped her along, I've helped her get her apartment, but she was like, I'm moving out and I want an apartment. I'm gonna do everything she sets out to do.
right.
And that's me, at her age. That was me. I'm going to LA. I'm gonna be a singer and I don't care what you say. And my mom's like, oh God, let me help her get to LA. So
Right.
that's kind of how I've been helping her along. She knows what she wants to do, and I'm just here to support at this
Right.
point.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's beautiful though because at the same time like as children at some point like if she's 25 like that is a good time to just learn life on your own like we're
Hmm.
that's kind of like the probably the scariest thing about being a parent. I am not one on my own, but I definitely know the guilt that I've felt over my parents for I mean yeah, I left to live in the US for 7 years. So I mean, that could not, well, I know for a fact that it hasn't been easy on my parents, but at the same time, it's like, but I'm not yours to own. I have to build my own life as well and
Right.
find my sense of belonging, which I kind of
Right.
coincidentally ended up finding in the US more so than I did in Norway. And that's
Hmm.
just cultural differences. And,
Hmm.
but to still be able to have that support from your parents that because my mom would always say where you're the happiest I am happy for you, like she doesn't want a
Hmm.
miserable daughter in Norway, she wants a happy child in the US if that's the case, and that
Correct.
was the case at the time. um but I am curious though because you keep saying they're so spoiled, but I still don't really understand what that means. Like what do you mean, like in
I
what
know,
ways?
you know, for example, they've been given so much, they don't accept no very well.
Mm.
So that's really it in a nutshell. And they don't ask for small things like let's go get some ice cream. I'm talking about buy me a house. Not really, but something like yeah, no. You
Yeah.
know, and then they get mad, like whatever. They grew up in an affluent neighborhood, number one, but I was a single mom, so I'm not trying to keep up with the Joneses. We can't keep up with the Joneses, but I'm offering you a better life. I'm offering you better school system. I'm offering you this safety and all of that.
Mm.
But what I get back now is Jimmy had all the designer clothes, and I
Mm.
only had one or two things
Mm.
designer. So, oh my God, you were a terrible parent because I couldn't have what Sally had, and they had the latest, and it's just, you know,
Yeah.
but but what's
Teach.
crazy is that, for example, my son just brought this up the other day too. Like my daughter wanted this iPhone, whatever number they were on then. And she got it. That's what she asked me for. But iPhone was coming out with a new phone every year. So I think we were at the end of that year of that phone that she wanted. And so they came out with the next one a few months later. And oh my God, you don't ever give me anything that I want. I'm like, but you and this, you know. And I say that because I can't give an example off the top of my head right now, but this is still going on and she's 25 years old. You
Right.
know,
Where is she play? I guess my question then is like how, because it almost sounds to me like the value is placed in possessions and not qualities. I mean,
yeah,
what values are, because I mean that's true for you too, right? It's your responsibility to teach them values
yes,
and to place their values in things that are meaningful. And
correct,
earthly possessions are not necessarily the thing that
correct.
is going to derive value. Although I understand being closer to her in age than I'm closer to you in age, that it's really tough growing up in a time, maybe especially in LA, when everything is just focused on content creating. And then you want the latest thing because you want to flash it or something. But at the same time, like that really truly is not where values lie.
Correct. And that's where she and I fight because, like I told you, I moved in that neighborhood not to show off that we had money or anything like that. It was safety. It was great schools.
Right.
I'm making sacrifices. That's my love for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You, she let me be very clear. She never went to school raggedy or had torn clothes. It was what she should have had.
Right.
And I refuse. And I would tell both my kids, I don't care what they have. I'm not their parents.
Mm.
And so let me say this, me reeling that in and her getting mad and them getting mad. But I think that is why she's so amazing as an adult today, because all the kids her age, kids, grown-ups now, her
Yeah.
age, they are not doing what she's doing. They're still
Mm.
trying to figure it out. This girl, she's been on her own. She moved out, I want to say she's been on her own about 3 or 4 years.
Mm.
So this isn't brand new, but she's if something happened to me right now, if I drop
Hmm.
dead right now, I know both of my kids can take care of themselves.
Right. You taught
You know,
you raised independent children.
raise
Um,
independent kids.
yeah. I do want to go back to that question that I had earlier though, because you
Mhm.
also said that you raised them as a single mother, and I've also, I don't know, I had a podcast episode called "A Daughter Needs Her Father," and what
Mm,
I meant by
mm.
that was a daughter needs a father because she needs to learn how to build self-respect. And I also realized that the older I get and the more I'm talking with my brother now that we're living together, that a son needs his father too, but for different reasons. But nonetheless, I
I got
do.
answers for both of those. Okay.
I believe you. I believe you. And I want to kind of hear like how have you been able to kind of navigate, or how are you still navigating uh, this, in the sense that you're also not only creating independent children but also children who have self-respect in dating, because that's something it sounds like both you and I were lacking.
Right. And I'm very proud of my daughter because she was kind of going down a weird path with guys, but
Mm.
she literally said, I'm gonna focus on me this year. So she's very mature, but you know, every kid needs their dad. And When I got pregnant with her, her dad and we were very solid. We were talking about marriage and all of that, but he had already had three kids or two kids. And his, when he found out I was pregnant, he literally said to me, "What the fuck am I supposed to do with three kids?" Well, you got two, so you should know how that thing works if you didn't want another one. So, um, so I had her by myself. We broke up after that. I was in Chicago. I had gone back to Chicago. So I got pregnant there. After I had her, she was about 18 months. I moved back to LA. But my prayer was, God, please don't let her have this hole in her heart
Mm,
from not having a dad, you know? But she does. And, then I met my son's dad, whom I actually married, who turned out to be the biggest loser on the planet.
mm,
He did not have one single relationship with my son. And I divorced him, but I wanted them to still try to have a relationship, but I told his dad, I was like, it's not for me to make you guys have a relationship. I have my relationship with him. You create your own.
mm.
I'm not going to stop you, however you all work that out. And he just never came to the table. And unfortunately, he passed away
Oh,
um, when my son was 14. So, there's no healing that. But I see now my son actually was attacked a few years ago, and he's had a hard time coming through it. And this is where I see he needed a man in his life, to really kind of help him navigate through this, and
yeah.
and just needing a man because it's just me and him now, and that's like he's such a mama's boy anyway. Anyway, but it's like he could benefit from a father, and I love my guy because he has totally kind of taken on that role. But up until now, like my son, his dad was alive. Like, why aren't you being the dad?
Mm,
So I see some things where, oh God, I wish a man could just really him, just
yeah.
instilled that in him.
Yeah.
If so it's so important. It's so important. But listen, is it? I had a dad in my life, and he was the worst. So, and truth be told, my brother and I would beg my mom to divorce him.
Mm,
Just leave, mom. Just divorce him. Just divorce him.
mm,
We would have rather been without a father than to
yeah.
have him. So, like again, like who's right, who's wrong? What
Yeah.
what what really works, Because and then what's crazy is my dad I told you he was married before, so he has children from previous marriages, and they all hate me because they thought I had it good because my parents got married and stayed married.
Yeah.
So they felt like, oh my God, you got our dad. And I'm like,
Mm.
you could have had his ass. Like, no, thank you.
It's so interesting. We all want what we can't have, or we all want
Right.
what we feel as though we lacked. And I think it's just human nature. And like you said, it's not like you couldn't provide for your children. Like you weren't able okay, let me rephrase that. It just happened to be so that your children didn't have a father figure present. But it's not only about having that father figure present if that father figure cannot step up to the occasion. It's about
Correct.
having a man in your life that demonstrates the kind of masculinity that you want to instill in your children, and you being the
Hmm.
feminine role. And we can't always be successful in that. There's going to be so many situations with people out there in the world who did not provide any of that, in different, and it will look differently to everyone, but that doesn't
Yeah.
mean that now we're automatically failures. You know what I mean? We're all
Right.
failed, and we cannot strive for perfection. It
Yeah.
isn't possible. But what we can strive for is understanding and recognizing the patterns and knowing how to, from that space, navigate the healthiest, safest environment that we can for our children. And like
Yes.
you said, you would even so with your children, you did create safety for them. You provided aspects that you thought was important for them to have. And although they will see that one day that that was incredible, valuable, and that was great, you wouldn't want them to be, for instance, in like, what if they had a father that was abusive? That wouldn't have been great either.
Right.
So there's always going to be this push and pulls on like what we could have done differently and how we could have done things better. But at the end of the day, we're all doing the best that we can with what we know, and we're
Right.
all just a result of what we've ever been exposed to. And all of that
Exactly.
looks different to all of us.
Everybody, yes. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. What is the greatest thing, though, that you have learned in your life that you would want for everyone to know? Because this platform for me is all of us sharing our stories and sharing our valuable lessons with each other, because I think we can all relate to each other. We're all just human, and
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we're just trying to do the best that we can with what we know. So what would you want to teach my listeners today?
Give yourself some grace. You
Mm,
know, life, this is your journey. Good, bad, ugly, pretty. It's your journey. And I equate it, excuse me, I equate it to like a quilt. I don't know if you've ever seen a quilt being made. But on the other side, you have all this yarn, different colors. It's just all screwed up. It's ugly. But when you turn it over, it's such a beautiful piece of work, right?
oh,
And
yeah, I see what you mean.
I think that is us. You know, we're going through this journey and we're getting beaten up and we're winning and we're losing and we're in the middle ground, but we keep trudging along. This is our journey. But when you get to a certain point, you look back, it's like, damn, I'm beautiful. Because you wouldn't be you right now if you didn't have all of that. You said yourself you wouldn't have that one podcast had it not been for that relationship.
Hmm.
So give yourself grace. All of this is for your good. It's gonna make you such an amazing person at the end if you just keep doing your self-work, right? And knowing this is just part of the journey. Give yourself some grace. You know, I could beat myself up for marrying that guy. I had to beat myself up for marrying that guy, but I had to give myself some grace because that is where I was at that time.
Yeah.
And I thought it was the right decision at that time.
Hmm.
I wouldn't have had this beautiful boy had I, not gone through all of this. And I love him to the ends of the earth, you
Yeah.
know. So there's that. Like just give yourself some grace and and try to enjoy the journey.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's funny because when you first started talking, I thought you were talking about a colt, but then I realized you were talking about a quilt.
Quilt. Yeah, a
Like, I
quilt.
know exactly what you mean, because I remember my grandpa remarried, and she had this like big quilt thingy where you make like big blankets and whatnot. And you're
Hmm.
right, on the back side of that, it looks so messy. You cannot fathom how that is going to turn into a pattern that actually makes sense.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
when
And
you
that
turn
is
it
us.
around, that
That
is
is us.
us. We
That
are
is
just
us.
this entangled, we're this
Yeah.
entangled mess. And then
Yeah.
when you flip on the flip side, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Just recognize it. You're beautiful.
Yes, and I must say, like, throughout our conversation today, Nikki, I look at you and you have this aura over you that is just so
Oh,
beautiful. It's
well,
like
thank you.
you really do have this expression in your eyes, and the way that, and your smile is amazing. I must say, you have
Oh,
such a
thank
beautiful
you.
smile.
Thank you. Oh,
And
thank you.
yeah, it makes me happy to see, and I really do believe that you bring a lot of value to the people around you. I mean, I know that this episode is going to bring value to someone who listens and realize that, like, oh my gosh, I can see myself in so many ways in this.
Mhm.
And remember that at the end of the day, all we can do is take all of what happened to us and flip it around, look at the beautiful side, take
Mhm.
all the negatives and turn it into a positive. Because if we dare, it is something really valuable to
It
derive
is.
from absolutely every situation, even if we
Absolutely.
suffered in the process.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I do believe too that, even because I don't, well, I'm not going to put words in your mouth and say that you beat yourself up for not having a present dad for your children, but I am positive that your children loves you endlessly, and that they will turn out great regardless, because they do have a loving, caring mother. And that is also very important. And that is a role that you have taken on. And I think that's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. My favorite job in the world, being their mom.
Yeah, that's great. And I must say, I really do hope that because there's never too late, you know, it's not too late. As you're saying, you're being brave and you're out there trying to be vulnerable in this new relationship. And maybe for the first time in your life, you actually get to demonstrate what real love looks like so that your children can observe that and realize that
Mm.
it's
Yeah.
out there, it exists, and I get to have that too. And
Yes.
so it's never too late to demonstrate what real love looks like.
And they love my guy. So, and they
I'm
love how he
happy.
treats me. And he and I, we don't argue in the
Mm.
7 years. Now, that's not to say we don't disagree. We don't argue. And that's what I love about him because just like I said, when he thought he hurt me,
Yeah,
the look in his face, that is just how, and we talk about everything.
yeah,
You upset me. That made me mad. But it's not, I'm upset. It's never
yeah,
that. It's like, you know what? You pissed me off. Baby, what happened? What did I do? And we talk about it and then it's done.
yeah, yeah,
And so I'm glad that my kids are witnessing that. And
yeah.
I think that is really kind of what slowed my daughter down
Mm.
because, she was so having such daddy issues, if you will. She's
Mm.
gonna find that guy that's gonna take care of her, that's gonna love her. But
Mm.
I'm like, girl, first of all, you're like 20 something but technically you're like 30, 40 something. So guys, they mature much slower than women.
Mm.
You're not gonna get a guy right now that can meet you where you are. You are so focus driven on your passions, on your job, on your career, like all these things. So she finally was just like, after this last relationship, she didn't even talk to me about it, so it must not have even been worth it. But she
Mm.
goes, you know what, Mom, 2026 is gonna be about me. I'm gonna get myself together so I can attract what I want. And I'm
That's
like, there
beautiful.
you go.
There you go. Yes,
Mhm.
that I mean, yeah, that I think that's I think that's a lot of us. Can you tell my listeners where they can reach you? And I'll also make sure to include everything in the description below the episode so that they can find your book and learn more about your story.
Yes, they can find me at very simple, nikkiallen.com, Nikkiallen. Simple.
Awesome. Thank you
And thank you
so
for
much.
having me.
Absolutely.